LEYSHINE soldiers, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Pattern Drafting and Sewing with LEYSHINE. On today's tutorial, we will be learning how to draft the basic bodice block. Here on this table are the things we use in drafting. We have the French curve, your tape rule, ruler, masking tape, scissors, tracing wheel, and the board pins. And of course, the dress pattern designing by Natalie Bray. On this channel, we will be simplifying how to draft the basic bodice block using the Natalie Bray technique. Kindly note, I am not discrediting any other person's method or technique of drafting. Neither am I discrediting any other pattern making textbook. Our concentration on this channel is just to simplify the Natalie Bray pattern making technique and manipulating our patterns to create beautiful design. So let's get started. This is the measurement I will be using to draft the basic bodice block. The example in the book is a bust 92, but I will be drafting using my personal measurement because I want us to be able to relate our own measurements to what we have in the book, meaning I want us to be able to draft our own size following the procedure of the textbook. So here with me, my shoulder 14 centimeter, bust 101 centimeter, waist 78 centimeter, chest width 39 centimeter, back width 41 centimeter, length to waist 42 centimeter, hip 105 centimeter. Okay, so I did a little calculation here so that I don't have to pause the video. So what this is, we will get to know as we draft the pattern. So every time you are drafting your pattern should be labeled using your bust measurement. My bust measurement is 101. So my pattern will be labeled bust 101 centimeter. If your bust is 80 centimeter, 80 centimeter. If your bust is 81 centimeter, label your bust 81 centimeter. So we're going to start drafting the back first, then we move to the front and to waist shaping. The instruction in your book says, take a rectangle of paper 75 centimeter long. Take a rectangle of paper 75 centimeter long. So from the top of my paper here, I will measure 75 centimeter. The width should be at least half bust plus 5 or half hip plus 3, whichever is larger, with an extra 4 to 5 centimeter added for margin. We all know a rectangle has two sides equal. Now we know the length of our rectangle to be 75 centimeter. We need to get the width of the rectangle. Now, to get the width of the rectangle, Natalie Bray says, compare your bust and hip measurement together, whichever is larger. If your hip measurement is bigger than your bust measurement, you do half hips plus 3. If your bust measurement is bigger than your hip measurement, you do half bust plus 5. So if I'm using my bust, I will do half bust plus 5. If I'm using the hip, it will be half hips plus 3, with an extra 4 to 5 centimeter added for margin. Now, from the measurement I have here, my bust is 101 centimeter. My hip is 105 centimeter. This simply means that I have a bigger hips. And that means to calculate the width of my pattern of my rectangle, it will be 105 divided by 2 plus 3 plus extra 4 to 5 centimeter added for margin. I hope that is explanatory. So my hip measurement is 105 divided by 2 will give me 52.5 plus 3 centimeter, that will be 55.5 centimeter. Now, extra 4 or 5, I choose to have 4. So that will be 59.5 centimeter. So it means the width of my paper will be 59.5 centimeter. So this is 59.5 centimeter, which is half hip plus 3 plus 4 centimeter. That is how I got this 59.5 centimeter. Okay, so now that I have the width of my rectangle to be 59.5 centimeter and the length 75 centimeter, I need to complete the box. So this is my box. I will leave the measurement here so that we can look at it. Then my textbook here. So I'm going to read and explain everything. Now, let's continue. Note, it is not essential to fit the half bodies into a rectangle so that hip point touch. Back and front may be drafted some distance apart. It is advisable, however, to avoid overlapping. Now, the reason for the extra 4 to 5 centimeter added for margin is simply to avoid overlapping. This box will take your front and your back pattern. So to avoid the front overlapping onto the back or vice versa, it is advisable to add the extra 4 to 5 centimeter. The left edge, or preferably a line parallel to it, 2 centimeter inside the edge is the center back. The right edge, or a line parallel to it, the center front of the bodice. Now, I'm going to stand this way. This is my right hand, this is my left hand. I use my right hand in writing. So this left edge is my center back, CB. And the right edge is my CF. If you write with your left hand, all you need to do is just position yourself the way you write, and the left edge will be your center back and the right edge will be your CF. That's simple. It is also convenient, though not essential, to use a line across the top, 2 to 3 centimeters below the top edge of the paper and parallel to it, calling it the top line. This top line here, this top, the top of your margin here is my top line. The bodice block is drafted to the following average: bust 92, hip 98, waist 70. Now, every measurement in this book, kindly replace it with your own measurement. Either the measurement of your client or your personal measurement. Replace the figures in the book with your own measurement. So let's do that. In my own case, the bust measurement in Natalie Bray is bust 92. I'm going to replace the bust with 101 centimeter. The hip here is 98. I will replace it with 105 centimeter. The waist is 70. I will replace with 78 centimeter. So I will be using the measurement I have here and not the one in the textbook. So let's proceed. The back. On the CB line, mark point O 3 centimeter below the top line. Now, one thing about Natalie Bray textbook is it does not guess. When something is constant, the book will tell you. When you have to refer to a page in the book will tell you. Now, there's a page in this book called the table of average measurement and proportion. Table of average measurement and proportion. Please do not use the measurement here except you are drafting for a standard UK size or the measurement here fits into your size perfectly. But if not, take your own measurement and use only the proportion that aligns with the bust measurement. Let me take that again. Do not use the measurement here, use only the proportion. For example, my bust is 101. Here, it is labeled 1, 2, 3 to 10. We have bust 80 to bust 116. Now, use the figure that is close to your bust measurement. Take, for instance, your bust 83. Bust 83 should use proportion assigned to bust 84 because 83 and 84 is close. If you are 81, do 80 because 80 is close to 81. Now, my bust measurement is 101, 101. I will use proportion that is assigned to bust 100 in the book. I hope we understand that. Okay, so let's go back to this. On the CB line, mark point O 3 centimeter below the top line. Now, underneath this, we have a short note. Let's read that. For the two smallest sizes 1 and 2, mark point O at 2 to 2.5 centimeter down. For larger sizes 5 and 6, 3.5 centimeter, 7 and 8, 4 centimeter, and for the larger sizes 9 and 10, 4.5 centimeter, changing every two sizes except for the two smallest. Now, this is just simply telling us to come over to this table and see what our point OCB is under proportions. Now, I say I am using proportion of bus 100. So my point OCB is 3.5 centimeter. If I was drafting for number 1, which is bus 80, my point OCB will be 2 centimeter. If I was drafting for the last on the book, which is 100 bus 116, my point OCB will be 4.5 centimeter. But I'm using proportion of bus 100 now because I'm drafting for 101 centimeter. So my point OCB is 3.5 centimeter. So from the top line, that's on the CB line, from this top edge of this paper, from here. Let me take a shorter ruler. From the top edge of this paper, here, I'll come down by 3.5 centimeter, and that will be my point O. This is point O, 3.5 centimeter. Measuring from O down CB line, mark the following point. All my measurements will be taken from point O down the CB line. 40 centimeter for waistline, a measurement of the figure. So that means this 40 centimeter is a measurement taken on the figure. And what measurement is that? That is a length to waist measurement. Length to waist measurement. So 40 centimeter for waistline, your length to waist determines your waistline. So for the measurement I have here, my length to waist measurement is 42. So instead of 40, I will measure 42 from point O. From point O, 42 centimeter. (42 centimeter), and this is my waistline. 62 centimeter for hip line, which is 22 centimeter below the waistline. From your waistline, measure 22 centimeter down to get your hip line. I'll take that again. From your waistline, measure 22 centimeter down to get your hip line. That is the simple explanation of that part. This is my hip line. If I had 22 to 42, I think I'll have 64 centimeter. 21.5 centimeter for bust line. This fixes also the depth of the armhole. Now you see that after this instruction, we have a note below it. This proportion is taken according to a scale based on the bust measurement. For bust 92, it is 21.5 centimeter. Then 0.5 centimeter more or less for sizes bigger or smaller, except the two smallest sizes. See table. So for me to know what my bust line is, I need to come over to this table. And I am drafting, I'm using proportion for bust 100. Depth of armhole, bust line is 22.5 centimeter for me. If you are 112, bust 112, your point O, your depth of armhole will be 24. If you are bust 80, your depth of armhole bust line will be 20.5. So for me, it is 22.5. So from point O, I'll measure 22.5. This is 22.5 bust line. Okay, 11 centimeter for back line, always halfway between point O and the bust line. What this is simply saying is, whatever you have from point O to bust line, divide it by 2. Now, there's a rule. To avoid dividing a fraction, the figure 21.5 is first increased to the nearest whole centimeter 22 before dividing it. Remember, this 21.5 is assigned to a bust 92. In our own case, my bust line is 22.5. So whenever your bust line has a 0.5, example 20.5, 21.5, in our case 22.5, I'll round it up to the nearest whole centimeter in my head. Remember, I already marked my 22.5 here. But to get this, the back line, I'll round it up to the nearest whole centimeter so that I can divide. Now, my 22.5 rounded to an whole number will be 23 centimeter. 23 divided by 2, 11.5 centimeter. So from point O, I will mark 11.5 centimeter. As for the length of the lines, I'm just ruling short lines across. When we need to extend the lines and the length of each line, as we go on, the book will tell us. I don't want to lose track of these lines. That's why I'm just ruling short lines. You see that the lines are not of equal length. That's because I'm just ruling short lines across. So this is 11.5 centimeter, my back line. 3 centimeter for shoulder line, a fixed proportion for all sizes, irrespective of the size you're drafting for, plus size, petite size, plus 100, plus 80. From point O, your shoulder line is a constant 3 centimeter. From point O, 3 centimeter. This is my shoulder line. And the first line, point O, is my neck line. Okay, so I have my neckline, my shoulder line, back line, bust line, waistline, hip line. These are the lines I need to draft my pattern. So let's continue. From all these points, including point O, square to CB the following construction lines. Now, remember the first instruction was mark the following points. But instead of marking, I decided to rule short line. So this part of the instruction, I have fulfilled it. Now, it says the hip line, the bust line, and the waistline going right across the paper to the CF. So this simply means that I need to extend my hip line to the CF. Extend my waistline to the CF also. And also extend my bust line to the CF. Okay, so now my waistline, hip line, and bust line has been extended to the CF. The back line and shoulder line less than halfway across, meaning the back line and shoulder line has to be less than halfway across, just a little more. Less than halfway across. Okay? The highest line squared from point O, the highest line squared from point O, which is the neckline, only 10 to 12 centimeter long. So this line should be 10 to 12 centimeter long. Okay, so here, this is my lines. I have my neckline, shoulder line, back line, bust line, waistline. This is what the line should look like. And the next thing for me to do is put my measurement on these lines. From O along the neckline, measure the neck width and take this point 2 centimeters up. From O along the neckline, measure the neck width and take this point 2 centimeters up. Now, we come over to this table again, table of proportion, and look for back neck width. The back neck width for bust 101 is 7.5. Remember, I'm using proportion for bust 100. Back neck width here is 7.5. If I was drafting for bust 80, my back neck width would be 65. If I was drafting for bust 108, my back neck width will be 8 centimeters. But I'm using proportion for bust 100, my back neck width is 7.5 centimeters. So here, from O along the neckline, I will mark 7.5 centimeters and take that point 2 centimeters up. And that gives me my NP, neck point. The neck width is graded according to a scale. This is an explanation on how they got the 7.5 we worked with. Or the neck width is graded according to a scale based on the bust measurement, taking 7 centimeters for bust 92 and 88 centimeters and 0.5 more or less for every size smaller. An alternative method, that's if you don't want to use the book, now they are telling us there's an alternative method to measure, to work out your back neck width. An alternative method is to work it out by taking 1/8 of the bust measurement plus 2.5 and use only half of this. That is, divide your bust measurement by 8 plus 2.5 and divide it by 2. I'll take that again. Divide your bust measurement by 8, add 2.5 to your answer, then whatever answer you get, divide it by 2. That will give you your back neck width. But trust me, instead of doing this calculation, just lift your answer from the proportion in the book. Let's continue. On the back line, third line from the top, the first line here is the neckline, shoulder line, second line, back line, third line. Measure from the CB, half back measurement. Now, the back measurement they are talking about here is the back width measurement. My back width is 41 centimeters. So instead of 36, I will replace with my own measurement, which is 41 centimeters. So half of my back width is 20.5. Their back width in the book is 36. That is why they have 18. I am drafting for myself and my back width is 41 centimeters. So 41 centimeters divided by 2 is 20.5. So on my back line, from the CB, I will mark 20.5. 20.5 centimeters. Half back width. Through this point, our last point, this point, through this point, draw a vertical construction line parallel to the CB, just crossing the line above and the line below. A parallel line is a straight line. A line like this, straight line. So if I'm crossing the line above will be my shoulder line, the line below will be my bust line. So I need to take a straight line from my back line up, down. But to have a perfect straight line, what do? I'll measure the same value, 20.5 here. I'll measure the same 20.5 here. And also measure it here. The reason for this is for me to have a perfect straight line. Then I'll connect together this way. This is the parallel line. These are two parallel lines. On the bust line, this is the bust line. The line below, that's below the back line. Measure half back plus 5.5 and mark the underarm point. Now, if you look at this, there's a little note underneath it also, meaning that 5.5 is not constant. So let's do the first part, which says measure half back. I've already done that. I have already measured my half back. So here is already my 20.5 centimeter half back width. What is left for me to add now is 5.5 centimeter. But for me, 5.5 might not work. I need to see what the instruction says. The addition to the X back for the position of UP will vary slightly from 5 centimeters smallest to 6.5 in large sizes. See table. So I'll come over to this table and look for back neck. I'll come over to this table and look for back UP. Now, I am using proportion for bust 100, so my back UP is 6 centimeter. If I was drafting for bust 80, my back UP will be 5 centimeter. But I'm using proportion for bust 100, meaning my back width is 6 centimeter, not 5.5 centimeter. 5.5 centimeter is for a bust 92. So from this point, I'll measure 6 centimeter, and this will be my UP on the arm point. On the shoulder line, line above, measure half back plus 2 centimeter. There's no note underneath this, so definitely that means that 2 centimeter is constant. Here, I already have my half back, which is 20.5 centimeter half back width. What I need to add now is 2 centimeter. This is 2 centimeter, and this is my SP, my shoulder point. Draw neckline from NP down to CB, curving it slightly. Now, I will use my French curve to draw neckline, slight curve from the NP to the CB. Please ensure the curve is not deep. Slight curve. Okay, this is what the curve looks like. Rule the shoulder seam between NP and SP. NP to SP, shoulder seam, that's a straight line. So I am to connect the NP to the SP. Okay? Draw the back armhole using the vertical construction line as a guide. So now what we want to do now is draw the back armhole. That means I am to use this vertical construction line as a guide. Keep armhole straight for about 3 centimeters near the back line level. So what I need to do here is just place a tiny point at that 3 centimeter. Just indicate where the 3 centimeter is. You see, on the line, just indicate the 3 centimeter. Hollow it out very little in the lower part, taking the curve through a 0.3 centimeter from the angle. Here we have an angle. This parallel line joined the bust line and gave us a 90-degree around here. Now I need to rule a line in between here. That's bisecting the angle by 3 centimeter. 3 centimeter. So now that I have this, I need to draw my armhole. Kindly pay attention to what I will do here. Now, keep moving your French curve until it is straight. Remember, it says keep armhole straight for about 3 centimeters near the back line level. So you keep moving your French curve till this part is aligning with the line. That's this part of the French curve is aligning with the line. Now see, what I mean is this. By the time I draw this, can you see? I am still on the line. Nothing is outside. See, on the parallel line. So after doing this, you connect from there to this 3 centimeter on the angle this way. You can't curve everything at once, so please do it one after the other. Then lastly, take the curve to your UP. This is what the armhole looks like. On the hip line, measure from the CB 1/4 hip measurement and mark the hip points. HP, in some cases, 1/4 hip plus 1 or 2. Now, on my hip line here, I am to divide my hip measurement by 4 and add 1 centimeter or 2 centimeter depending on what I want. Now, in my own case, I like to add 1.5 centimeter. You can decide to measure your actual hip, it's fine. You can do your actual hip plus 1 centimeter or your actual hip plus 2 centimeter. But in my own case, I recommend you do 1/4 hip plus 1.5 centimeter. So that is 105 divided by 4. That will give me 26.5 plus 1.5, 27.75. Somebody might want to ask, can I approximate? Please don't. Just measure your actual value. 27.75. HP. 1/4 hip plus 1.5 centimeter. Draw the straight underarm seam, ruling it between UP and HP. UP and HP. Straight. Connect your UP to your HP. Now, this is usually tricky for some people. People with hourglass, your HP can be as far as this point while your UP is here. And you might be like, oh, the line is not straight. Please just connect your UP to your HP. Whatever is being represented onto your HP and your UP, just rule a straight line. So I'll connect my UP to my HP this way. Okay? For the shaped underarm seam, mark 2 centimeter in at the waist or just below it and draw the slightly curved seam through this point as shown in figure 3. The pattern will be cut on this line, which is the outer shaped side seam. On your waistline, measure 2 centimeter in. Then use your French curve. Please pay attention to how I'll place this French curve. Now, I'll connect from my UP to WP. That's what I have on my waistline. This point. Then, you see, I flipped the French curve. I used it like this for the waist, from the UP to WP. Then, for the waist to hip, I flipped it the other way, this way, then align it. Okay. Now, this is the back of my pattern. The book says, the last paragraph says, check the length of the shoulder seam, which should be at least 1 centimeter, but on an average 1.5 to 2 centimeter longer than the shoulder measurement. In this example, 14 centimeter, that's their own example of bust 92. Their shoulder is 12.5 and they have 14. So let's confirm what I have here. My shoulder is 14 centimeter. So I'll measure what I have from NP to SP. The book says if I have 1 centimeter excess, it's fine. If I have 1.5 centimeter excess, it is still okay. If I have 2, great. But the moment I have excess of 2.5 and more, there is a problem with either my back width measurement or my shoulder measurement. Okay, so my shoulder measurement is 14 centimeter. Let's confirm what we have from NP to SP here. NP to SP here is 15.5 centimeter. So it means that I have excess of 1.5 centimeter on my shoulder, which is not a problem. By the time we are doing waist shaping, it will be taken out. This is what the back part of the bodice block looks like. If you have any question, kindly send me an email and I will respond to you. Kindly subscribe, comment, share, and like my video. Thank you.